မင်္ဂလာပါ GGA safe space ကနေကြိုဆိုပါရစေဒီနေ့ပြောမယ့်အကြောင်းအရာကတော့ဒီ LGBTQ population ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီရာလူတွေcoming out process ကြောင်းကိုကျမရဲ့တငယ်ချင်းစေယုံဟာတငယ်ချင်း Jerry နဲ့ဆွေးနွေးသွားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီဗီဒီယိုလေးကိုမစခင်ကျမရဲ့ချစ်ခင်ရတဲ့ချစ်မိတ်ဆွေတွေဒီ Juju safe space ကမိတ်ဆွေတွေကိုသတိပေးချင်တာမေတ္တာရက်ခံချင်တာကတော့ comment တွေပေးတဲ့အခါကြလို့ရှိရင်နည်းနည်းတူနဲ့တူမေတ္တာအခြေခံပြီးတော့ comment လေးတွေပေးကြပါတကယ်တည်းထိခိုက်နေတာစေမဲ့စကားလေးတွေကိုသတိထားပြီးတော့မပေးကြပါနဲ့လို့မေတ္တာရက်ခံပြစေရှင် Hi Jerry.
Hey Juju.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Thank you for joining us in this very important conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Jared Perez. I'm a licensed social worker here in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm also an LGBTQ community event organizer, a part of a collective of other LGBTQ people. I myself identify as a gay man. And yeah, we work together to put on events for all people that are a part of the LGBTQ community. We consider ourselves a safe space, and so people are able to come out and be themselves authentically in a space that they know they won't face harassment or discrimination from the staff to the people going to these events.
Yeah.
This is all before COVID though.
Yeah, definitely. Even during this pandemic, you know, the safe space doesn't have to be a physical location.
Right.
It can still be a person.
Right.
That's why I'm glad you're introducing yourself as a safe person, you know, because this is a very important conversation here in the US and also back in Burma, because we could be saving so many people's lives. People are being harassed based on their sexual identity. People are afraid to come out as who they are, you know. So we'll be discussing about what is calling out and coming out, what are the differences. But also interestingly, you know, when I introduce myself, I don't have to introduce as I am Juju, I'm straight. But for you, when you say who you are, you also introduce and identify as gay man. So what does it make you feel when you always have to, not always, but like most of the time, introduce yourself with your sexual identity?
Yeah, it can be very challenging and kind of it can provoke a lot of fear to have to constantly come out. At the same time, I do take a lot of pride in my identity as a gay man, but that's taken a lot of years of experience and sort of like therapy and building up to a point where I feel comfortable to share my identity. The other thing too is, you know, I really appreciate you know, asking me to do this. I think, you know, there's ways in which I can figure out if a space feels safe. You're gonna hear me say that a lot.
Yes.
Because there are ways that, you know, people like myself and others in the LGBTQ community can identify when a space is safe to sort of be who we are authentically. Yeah, it is unfortunate though that oftentimes we have to sort of come out to say who we are, and that's generally because it's usually assumed that people are sort of man or woman, they're gay or most people are straight, you know. So because we live in this society that is predominantly heteronormative, it's the coming out process just never ends. It's like taking back that kind of control and power of electing when I do get to come out. That's a way that I can kind of gain my voice back and take back my own control.
Yeah, because you can decide who to come out, when it's safe to do it.
Right.
And so what is the difference between coming out process and being called out? And can you tell me what are the effect of being called out? You know, because this is a mental health page, so we want to discuss this conversation in a mental health point of view, how it affects a person well-being.
Right. So the coming out versus calling out. So coming out, how I would define it, is someone that is of LGBTQ identity. They're sort of empowering themselves to speak their truth and to disclose to others but having their own choice over that,
Yes.
to disclose to others their identity, however, whatever that is, whether they're lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, asexual, non-binary, any of that. Calling out would be the opposite. That's where people are sort of putting pressure on this individual or group of people to sort of publicly proclaim their identity, or they're outing them. That's another way, calling out, or sometimes we just say outing them, and that puts their sort of, not only does that rob them of their autonomy, but it puts their safety in jeopardy.
So they're in danger.
It puts them in danger.
So like you expressed it in the beginning, like you work in the community for other people to make themselves feel comfortable with who they are and safe place to come out. So when you came out, who was the first person and what did that make you feel safe?
Well, I grew up in a very kind of conservative, rural, small town on the east coast of the United States. I didn't come out until I moved away for university. And so when I moved away to go to university, because I was in a new city, and I moved to a larger city, so it was more, urban. And when I was there, it was just more diversity, and there was a larger LGBTQ population. So I got to live kind of authentically there. So when I got kind of that little taste of what it was like, of freedom and to be who I was, when I returned back home for, I think, winter break or something, I felt comfortable to come out to a lot of my friends from high school. The first person I chose to come out to was my friend Dominique, who was a year older than me, and so she had gone off to university in New York City the year before I left to go to school. And she had, things that I saw that made me comfortable to come out to her is that she, again, had a diverse group of friends of all sorts of backgrounds, including LGBTQ folks and non-LGBTQ folks. And she never sort of batted an eyelash or treated them differently. And the entire time we had been friends throughout high school, she, never made sexual orientation really a big deal. And so because I kind of had that data and that shared history, I felt like, okay, this is someone I feel safe with. And her response was so perfect and loving. It was just kind of like, I don't care, I love you anyway. And I just felt like a huge kind of relief and like weight off of my shoulders. Because you've been carrying on this weight for all your life, and then this person just gave you the space whenever you're ready, and I will still love you as who you are. Exactly.
And unfortunately, not everybody experience that positive experience when they come out or when they're being called out. In Burma, one of the young men, he took his life after being harassed at work. And I'm sure it's not just at work, probably everything accumulating at home, in the community, and at school, everything has built up to that point. So when people are struggling with their sexual identity themselves, and then they have to deal with their people from their environment, what would you suggest how to keep themselves safe?
It's unfortunate that we kind of have to talk about this, because it is unfortunately the world we live in, where people are targeted for their sexual identity and their gender identity. And one belief that I really hold is that everyone has the right to self-identify. Some practical tips that I have for people who are facing harassment and discrimination of what you're going to do to protect yourself, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I grew up in a family environment where some of my family are very homophobic and have very negative views on the LGBTQ community. And so when I was a kid, and I knew in my core that I was a gay man or a gay child. At that point, I had to have positive self-talk, and I kind of had a challenge and recognize that sort of these adults in my life aren't perfect people, and that I know that this is who I am, and so at some point when I'm an adult and able to kind of take control over my life, then I'm going to live openly. For people that don't have a place that they can then go to where they can maybe live more openly, look for individuals who sort of put out kind of signals to you. You know, a great way to connect with people is through music and art. People who share that they like certain artists that align with the LGBTQ community, that can be kind of an indicator to you, like.
So what would you suggest for people who are living in community, society that doesn't talk about this issue openly?
On LGBTQ folks that live in Burma or a conservative society who feel that LGBTQ people deserve rights just as everybody else, to speak up, because you're in a position of power and privilege, and you can really use your voice to change, to shift the norm. And again, all it takes sometimes is one to two people to speak up on behalf of an individual that's being harassed or bullied, to really shift a difference, or to make a difference.
Because it's not only about the LGBTQ community, it's about us. We are in this together. Because of you bring different different values and different prospect of life into my life, our work. We met through the work, so you bring different values to work environment, in the community, in the society, so you're a bonus.
And these different viewpoints kind of inspire us in life.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us in this very important conversation. Is there any last thing that you want to share?
If you just want to talk or share space together, I'm always open to do that. My Instagram is at jpapi, that's JPAPII.
Okay, well, thank you again.
Thank you, Juju.
Okay.